Hi, I'm Mike Sargent, and this is Arise on Screen.
Who has sex for 3 hours? That's the length of the movie Lincoln. You did the full Lincoln.
After 10 years of marriage and 2 kids later, in order to spice up their love life, Jay and Annie literally take a page out of the joy of sex in Sex Tape, starring Cameron Diaz and Jason Segel. One night a year, all crime is legal, including murder. The annual Purge turns good people bad and leaves others running for their lives in The Purge, Anarchy.
Doctor,
Come on, what?
always do the right thing.
That's it?
That's it.
I got it. I'm gone.
Spike Lee's ultimate Brooklyn summer classic, Do the Right Thing, turns 25. At the time, critics feared the racially charged storyline would ignite the streets of America. Today, we celebrate Lee's Oscar-nominated film.
Would you like to sign a petition to boycott Sal's famous pizzeria?
Hear me, what you ought to do is boycott that no-good barber that messed up your head.
All this and more on Arise on Screen. Hello, I'm Mike Sargent, and welcome to Arise on Screen, your global home for films both on screen and behind the scenes. Let's get to it first with this week's box office winners. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes tops the box office this week, followed by Transformers: Age of Extinction, Tammy, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and Earth to Echo rounds it out in the number 5 spot. And in movie news...
What is it you are seeking?
I want the power to destroy my enemies and save my family.
Luke Evans of Fast and the Furious fame stars in Dracula Untold. When Evans brings the latest IMAX version of the Prince of Darkness to life, he goes to battle with his enemies to save his family. Dracula Untold will be in theaters in October.
Hey, did you hear the one about the grown woman who started hanging out with a bunch of pubescent kids?
No, what?
No, I'd never heard of it before either.
In the new film Laggies, Keira Knightley plays Megan, a confused 20-something-year-old who runs away from a marriage proposal and finds comfort with her new teenage friend, played by Chloe Moritz. Will there be a new romance between Megan and Chloe's dad, played by Sam Rockwell? 10-year-old newcomer Neil Sethi beat out thousands worldwide and will make his acting debut as Mowgli in the latest remake of Disney's The Jungle Book.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Sethi will be the only actor on screen for the entire movie, but actors lending their voices to other characters include Idris Elba, Lupita Nyong'o, Scarlett Johansson, and Sir Ben Kingsley.
The music that they were making in their time is exactly what we make it. We just expressing what we going through.
And finally, the South by Southwest documentary Take Me to the River, featuring Snoop Dogg, Terrence Howard, Mavis Staples, and many more, will now be distributed in the U.S. The film tracks the influence of Memphis and Mississippi Delta blues on the social and political landscape of America during the process of recording a new album. Terrence Howard and Snoop Dogg are also executive producers. And in festival news, the 35th annual Durban International Film Festival kicked off this week. The festival opened with the critically acclaimed South African filmmaker Z Natuli's film Hard to Get. The movie is about a handsome young womanizer from a small community who falls for a sexy, reckless young thief. This year, the festival features 200 films and 280 screenings, along with workshops and seminars focusing on the ever-expanding African film market, with South African films as a key focus. The Durban International Film Festival runs until July 27th. Today, I'm joined by film critic from Italy and artist Chiara Spagnoli-Gabbardi, and film critic Justine Browning. Justine, welcome. Chiara, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm very glad to have you here both. But before we get to the movies,
Yes.
I'm going to talk about something that has to do with one of the films we're reviewing, and that is nudity on film. There's been a lot of talk about the fact that this is Cameron Diaz's first time she shows her butt on screen, which Jason Segel has done a couple of times. So I want to ask you both, what's your thought on that? Does it matter to you? Do you care? Do you want to see male nudity on film? Does that make you want to see the film?
Whether male or female, when it's necessary for the storyline, it works. When it's exploitative,
I think it takes away from the movie and can sometimes spark a lot of outrage. Swordfish is a perfect example. Halle Berry appears nude in that film.
And got $12 million.
And got $12 million for it, and it was unnecessary, and a lot of people, I think, would agree with me. But if you look at Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Jason Segel based his nude scene... Exactly. He based his nude scene on an experience that he had where a woman was coming over that he was dating, and he thought that she was coming over to be intimate with him, and in fact she was breaking up with him. So he was waiting naked and was dumped naked.
So if it's integral to the story, you're with it. Exactly. Now, what about you, Kiara? Because European film is not quite so... it's not so taboo.
Yes, it's not. It doesn't have such a Puritan approach, but there again, to be in line with what Justine was saying, if it's connected to the film, also male nudity is very pertinent. Like in Shame, Michael Fassbender had to be nude for the entire...
And it caused that film to get an NC-17 in this country.
Right. Yes, exactly. But what also interests me is the double standard between male and female nudity, which somehow I believe is connected to art history, because ever since the Renaissance we were so bombarded with the female nudes, the Giorgione painting, the Sleeping Venus was the first one that really enhanced all of this. And I think that in the cinematic world there's some of that as well.
Well, some people think it's because more men watch porno than women. So.
Or maybe because female bodies are more harmonious and men's are possibly more funny.
Ooh, more funny. Well, I don't know that I necessarily
about the opening scenes of Shame.
Agree with that.
No, I very much appreciated it. But...
So you do like nudity if it's tasteful and if it's integral to the story.
Absolutely.
Well, I have to say I pretty much agree. Though, like anybody else, I was curious about Halle Berry, but I didn't feel it was worth the $12 million. That's just me. But we'll be back. Coming up. Imagine 12 hours of lawlessness where you can commit any crime, even murder. The Purge, Anarchy, next on Arise on Screen.
This might be... No. It definitely is the most embarrassing moment of my life.
Oh, no. You should not feel embarrassed. If anything, you should feel proud.
Yeah, your body's insane.
Oh, my God.
Sex Tape stars Cameron Diaz and Jason Segel as a couple who make a sex tape to spice up their marriage. But they realize their home movie is about to be leaked to the world, revealing more of themselves than they ever imagined.
We're really good friends, so we had a really good time. And some of the stuff we do in the movie is super embarrassing. But to do it with like a partner in crime, it's the best thing you could hope for.
I'm so excited about all the people that came out to support us. I can't wait to go say hello to everybody once we do our job here. And yeah, it's really cool. It's really fun. It's a fun movie. We want to share it with the world.
That's right.
Welcome back to Arise on Screen. I'm here with film critic Chiara Spagnoli-Gabardi and Justine Browning. So, first, Sex Tape. I thought the premise could have been fun, could have been amusing, and I think I sit in between the two of you and how you feel. I thought the film was amusing throughout. I am not a big fan of either of them, but it, for me, is nothing that I would say run out and go see. There are some cameos that are great. Rob Lowe, probably, which I know we'll talk about because you felt the same way. But you, Chiara, you thought that it was a premise that could have done something, but it wasn't funny, and I love what you thought of Jason Segel. You said he's tenderly amusing, which yes, I can think with.
He looks like a teddy bear. I mean, he has that sex appeal, unlike Michael Fassbender, which we were mentioning before. But yes, the premise was great, and but there was no humor. It was trying so badly. No, it was trying so badly to be funny all along the way, but the jokes were so bad. I was bored and annoyed at times, and I'm pretty tired of seeing Cameron Diaz always playing the ditzy. I think she has so much more than that.
Well, that's her new film, The Ditzy. No, I'm kidding.
Okay,
but now
you said it, I didn't.
You, on the other hand, Justine, you enjoyed this. You thought it was funny, and you thought they had great chemistry. You said, which she thought was, and you thought Rob Lowe was the best thing in it.
Yes. A lot of it doesn't make any sense at all. It's full of plot holes. It's completely implausible. But what it does get right here that very few films do is showing a husband and wife as a team and as equals. There are a couple of films out at the moment, or Neighbors, which came out a couple of months ago, and I Origins, also out this week, and this film, that show a man and a woman on equal footing.
A balanced couple.
And working together as a team. I thought they had great chemistry in that sense. And yes, Rob Lowe absolutely stole the movie. He's completely unpredictable in the role. But I will say I enjoyed the two of them in Bad Teacher a lot more. I think that took a lot more risk.
Same
this
director.
Movie could have.
Same director. Well,
yes.
you know, I think Rob Lowe was very good, and I thought, for me, it was a kind of a surprise to see him. And you two are probably too young to remember that he had a sex tape back in 1988, and that kind of derailed his career for a while. So this is a movie that I think is amusing. Okay, but that's about it.
Not so much.
But before we go to our next film, we want to know, what do you think about nudity in movies? Go to our Facebook and our Twitter, Arise on Screen. Our next film is The Purge, Anarchy. It's set in the year 2023. The Purge is an annual event where for one night, for 12 hours, all crime is legal. The film stars Frank Grillo and Carmen Ejojo.
As long as we move, we'll be fine. We're gonna cross banks.
No, that's a long way. It's gonna be much quicker if we go down here.
I'm stuck! Get off of me! I'm stuck! It's a trap! It's a trap! We don't have time! Move away! I gotta shoot it! Move away! What? You're gonna what? I'm gonna shoot it! Move! What? Okay. Shoot it! Shoot the cable!
Shane, hurry up!
Get up! Get up!
Now, I have to tell you, The Purge, the first movie, I thought had a pretty ridiculous concept, and they didn't do enough to really make me buy it. Which, you know, I'll accept anything if you can make me buy the concept. This movie, I thought, in some ways, was better. It was better in that it took the character, or not the character, but the premise a little further, and it's more interesting to see it out in the street, like what's it like out there on the streets. But at the same time, I felt that it was really heavy-handed. It kept acting like it was a socially conscious film, and it's not. It's what it has to say is BS. So what did you think?
That's the problem with this movie. The main problem is it can't decide whether it's a guilty pleasure B movie.
Oh, it's a solid B.
Or a high concept, socially conscious action movie, which it tries to turn into and fails. But I will say that it goes further with the premise than the original. It gets much more imaginative. The different responses that certain groups have to this permission to commit crimes over a certain period of time. People becoming martyrs, people protecting those who are more vulnerable. I thought the divisions was kind of realistic for how we would probably respond to that.
Well, I agree. I did think, though, there's this whole subplot about the people who are against it, and they take it over in the video. And we've seen that in at least a half a dozen other films. But you, on the other hand, Kiara, you thought that Frank Grillo was a very good lead, that he was actually, the acting was the best thing in this movie.
Yes, because there's this whole set of rules that is denied by the movie itself. This legalized crime should occur outdoors, but suddenly it also occurs indoors, so it somehow implodes. And I was trying to find meaning throughout the film. Yet again, there are some very interesting themes, like gun control, the data gathering of the government, and of course war amongst classes because of the genocide of the poor. But it just lost sense in the way it portrayed it.
It was pretentious.
It was pretentious to me.
And a B movie should never be that. Well, we're going to move on, and we'll be right back. Coming up, Tango Negro. The African Roots of Tango by Angolan filmmaker Dom Pedro explores the contribution of African cultures in the creation of the tango.